The girl in apartment 9BIT started with a single photograph found inside a book that was never borrowed not once in the 12 years it had sat forgotten on the second floor of the city library. The librarian said it must have slipped in years ago, but no one knew how or when or by whom. The book was titled The Psychology of Fear, and the photograph was tucked between pages 98 and 99. It showed a girl standing in front of a red brick building, her face pale, her expression unreadable, and a shadow in the window behind her that did not match the angle of the sun. Detective Elijah Ward found the photo by accident, or maybe it found him that week. He had stopped drinking 3 days ago, cold turkey, after waking up in the middle of traffic with no memory of how he got there. He said it was a sign, or maybe a warning, and when he held the photo in his hand, something in his gut twisted like it knew something before he took the photo to the lab. But there were no prints, no metadata, no obvious date. The building looked familiar, though, and it took him half a day of driving around the east side before he found it. 1436 Wayland Street, a rundown four-story complex with busted windows and a flickering hallway light. The paint peeled like dead skin, and the smell of mold hit him the moment he stepped inside. The apartment 9BTHE number was scratched on the door with something sharp, not written but carved, as if the person was in a hurry or afraid. Inside it was dark. The power had been off for months, maybe longer. There was dust on everything, but no cobwebs and no furniture. Just a single chair in the middle of the room facing the wall, and above it a small nail with no frame, just the outline of where a picture used to hang. He stood there for a while, breathing in the silence. Neighbors said the place had been empty for years. No one went in or out since the girl vanished. They remembered her, though a quiet girl, always wore headphones, never smiled. They said her name was Marla, or maybe Mara. They weren't sure, but Elijah knew it was her, the girl from the photograph. He took the image to the archives, started digging missing persons, cold cases, anything on a girl named Marla in that neighborhood. Nothing came up until he cross-checked the water bills. The last person registered at 9B was listed as Mara Lynn, a 23-year-old college student from Minnesota who moved to the city for an art program at Willings College. The report said she dropped out mid-semester. No explanation, no forwarding, address gone without a trace. Celia pulled the old case file, what little there was of it, and found one detail that hadn't been followed up: a call log from a neighbor across the hall who reported screams on the night of October 12, 2017. The officer responded at 3 a.m., knocked once, and left no follow-up, no report entry. Looked up the officer name, badge number, still active. Detective Paul Rayner Elijah met him the next day in the precinct cafeteria. Rayner looked older than his years, cigarette burns on his fingers, a twitch in his left eye. He remembered the night, said it was nothing, just a noise, probably a cat or a drunk girl watching horror films. Elijah showed him the photo. Rayner went pale, said he'd never seen it before, but wouldn't look at it for more than 2 seconds. The next day, Rayner didn't show up to work. They found his body in the Hudson that night. No note. Elias started asking more questions, went back to 9B more than once. Something about the room kept pulling him back. There were no cameras in the building, but every time he entered the apartment, he swore the chair had moved just slightly. The nail on the wall kept bleeding rust, like the memory of something that refused to deafen. On his 4th visit, he found a key taped under the windowsill and beneath the floorboard, loose in the corner. A box inside were dozens of drawings. All of them showed the same thing: a man with no face watching from the shadows, always in corners, always near. In some he was inside the apartment, in others behind glass or mirrors or cracks in the ceiling tiles. Elijah laid them out across his living room floor, each one more disturbing than the last. The style was frantic, obsessive, as if the girl had drawn them in fear, not as art, but as a warning. Gauny sketch caught his eye. It was the chair, the wall, the same nail, and above it a message scrawled in red ink: his still here that night. He dreamed of static and knocking and a low whisper that kept repeating the number 9 over and over, and when he woke up there were muddy footprints on the rug, just one pair, bare, small like a girl's, and leading from the front door to the wall. Where his bookshelf Lynette searched the hallway, checked his locks, nothing broken, no signs of forced entry, and no prints on the doorknob, just a strange smudge like someone had breathed against it and pressed their forehead to the metal took. The drawings to a forensic artist who studied the lines for hours before saying something that chilled him. The subject was likely someone real. The repetition, the consistency, the precision of facial angles meant the girl had seen him over and not just imagined him. The forensic artist asked him a question Elijah had not considered. What if the man without a face was not someone watching her, but someone living inside her apartment that night? Elijah set up a camera in his own living room just to be sure. 3:12 a.m. The footage caught something, that movement exactly, but the chair, the one from 9B now in Elijah's room, had turned slightly and the door creaked open an inch, though he had locked it tightly and wedged it shut. Called tech had them enhance the frames, and in the reflection of the window they caught something, a figure, tall, pale, blurry, without features, standing behind him just for a second, just enough to be real. Brought the evidence to his captain, but the man dismissed it, called it stress or a breakdown, told him to take leave. Elijah refused. Went back to the building, this time to the basement. Old records said there had been a sealed utility room below Unit 9B, closed since the 70s after a gas leak. The door was bolted, welded shut. He got permission to cut it open. Inside he found a mattress stained, a rusted typewriter, and more sketches pinned to the wall, and a camera aimed upward through a small hole leading directly into 9B. It had been a watching place, a hiding place. There were wires connected to a recorder and dozens of old tapes stacked in boxes. Elijah took them all, listened to the tapes one by one. Hours of silence broken by whispers, breathing, and scratching sounds, until on tape number 14 he heard a voice, not a girl, but a man, saying her name over and over, Mara Marathon, screaming. Then silence. Elijah handed it all to the DA, but the evidence was old, circumstantial. The case went cold again until the photo appeared again, this time in his mailbox. Same girl, same shadow, only now the shadow was clearer, and it looked like Elijah Ward standing in the window of 9B. He hadn't been there the day the photo was taken, but now he wondered if he had always been there. Somehow burned the drawing, smashed the chair, left the city bit. Wherever he went, the number followed. Hotel rooms 9, bank line 9, license plate 9, and always the sound of breathing behind him in the quiet. Checked into a clinic, said he was losing time, said he couldn't sleep, said he kept waking up in places he hadn't entered. Doctors said stress, said trauma, but Elijah knew somewhere inside him apartment 9B was still watching. And the man with no face, he is still here.